Welcome to the You-est You podcast. I'm Julie Reisler. I am gratefully and graciously your host. And if you are new here, welcome. If you have been here listening with me for a while, welcome. I am honored. I hope you know that to be part of your journey in being your most authentic, loving self. And I really think, my friend, you are going to so love this conversation. So, do you know the one thing that the 1,000 top expert athletes and leaders have said is the key to their success? Well, the answer might surprise you. Listen in to find out the most important and surprising factor that my guest found during his quest for success. Today, I'm talking to Marcel Kuhn. He is a Swiss visionary speaker, author, coach, father, dreamer, and soul surfer who passionately explores the edges of his comfort zone and what it means to create an unthinkable reality through flow, finding love and oneness within. Marcel, the author of Unthinkable, has spent over a decade immersed in personal development, traveling globally to work with top experts from coaches and speakers and trainers to spiritual teachers and shamans. Through his impeccable storytelling, his discoveries and practices, Marcel guides and inspires others to connect with their dreams and to do the unthinkable while creating a joy and fulfillment along the way. I really think you are going to be pleasantly surprised with the answer. And without further ado, I'm going to bring you into the conversation that we had that was so powerful. So here is Marcel, and I'm so excited to share this interview with you. So I am so excited that you're here. Marcel, when we first met and connected through our dear mutual friend, Abby, I remember thinking, oh my gosh, I've got to share you and your wisdom with my community and listeners, with anyone that has struggled in their life around feeling grounded, finding that flow, feeling like even maybe at times, going through that victim space, even though that's not where you come from. It's moving through those challenges. And I'm so psyched you're here today. It's a gift to connect with you again. So let's dive in. I mean, I think, Marcel, for people that don't know you yet, I want to definitely talk about your book and this concept of flow. But let's talk for a minute, like, were you always this connected to yourself and to the sense of, greater connection, oneness? Like, tell us a little bit about your backstory. Like, how did you get into this whole world of personal transformation and change and growth? Like, what was there anything that started that for you? Was a catalyst? Like, share a little more about your background.
Okay, so my background is yeah, that's a big question that you just asked there, right?
That's a
Right
huge
now.
one. You can take whatever you want of it. Yeah, tell us your life story, Marcel. No, I
Okay.
should have said pick the part that you think would be kind of that really lends itself to the work you're doing now, maybe a challenge you had or something that got you to realize, all right, life's not working the way I wanted to.
Yeah, I think my whole life, I think it started at 6 years old. I felt always that I had to chase something. So from an earliest age, I felt I wasn't good enough. And that made me always think about being smarter and chasing success. So of course, when I was 6 years old, I wasn't thinking about success. Then it was more being, fitting in. And yeah, so I think from the earliest time, this has been a topic in my life. But really, what started the book was in 2015. We had a family tragedy, and this caused me to think about the big questions of life. So why are we here? What is my legacy? What does it all mean? And who would come to my funeral? Who would care if I leave? And I asked myself, why are some people so successful and fulfilled, and other people seem like being walking dead, just existing, just in their I forgot the word now, the rabbit race. No, what is it? The rat race, and just existing. So that was my question at the funeral, and from there this turned into a chase for me to find out why are some people successful and fulfilled. And a few months later, I think in January of 2016, this title came to me that was Achievers: 1,000 Ways to Success and Fulfillment. And my idea was to interview 1,000 people from around the globe that are high achievers, and I wanted to know from them what makes them successful and fulfilled. And so that's when I started my journey of writing a book. And yeah, later I realized that I had it all wrong. It was all the opposite how it really is. So in life, it seems like everything that I thought was true was exactly the opposite. So it's all paradox. So I felt I needed to chase success to be successful. And in the last 7 years, I realized that you actually, when you chase it away. And so I reconnected with a part that I had when I was 18, when I went to California. So now see that's how my brain works. I'm all over the place. But when I was 18, I had the opportunity to go to California and to be a foreign exchange student. And I learned how to surf, and I was really in tune with myself. And maybe it was also because I was outside of the known structure, of the family structure, of school systems, of society, of the friends. And I could just reinvent myself. And I learned how to surf, which really connected me to, it almost felt like it was coming back to my home. So for me, that's when the feeling, the idea of flow started, when I was 18. And actually, when I was 18, when I came back from California, I wrote a paper about the culture of surfing, the philosophy and culture of surfing. And I remember a sentence that I wrote at 18, and that is, surfing is the unification of body and soul. And so now I'm 44, and the book was published this year, and it is about the perspective of a soul surfer on life. So how to ride the waves of life, how to navigate the wipeouts of life, and how to live in flow consciousness. So this is really going full circle from being 18 and coming back to Switzerland and going back into the rat race, into the structures, and yeah, just many years later rediscovering that what I found at 18.
So I really, really, first of all, appreciate your depth, the vulnerability. Thank you for sharing. And it sounds like, this family tragedy, which I'm so sorry you had to go through, that it was a wake up, like a soul wake up call is kind of what I heard. And those big questions. And I'm just thinking, anyone listening who has had a dark night of the soul in their own life, has lost a loved one, or had maybe a really challenging time. Oftentimes, if we're paying attention, those moments can be those huge, like, life shakes you on the shoulders and is like, wake up, there's more here. So it sounds like those questions you started to ask, Marcel, like, why are we here? What does it mean to be fulfilled? It's so interesting because from one, like, recovering overachiever to another, when you started to talk about, I'm going to interview 1,000 successful people and talk about, and I was like, oh my gosh, my ego, my, like, left my side of my brain was like, yeah, what is that? Tell me. And I just love that it's what I've been finding, what I've been hearing from so many people in doing this show is actually it's the opposite. You said it's the opposite of what you were chasing. And in fact, when you chase it, it stops working. Like, success, the minute you chase it, it's like has the opposite effect. So that is really a powerful reminder. I would love to go a little bit into surfing and both the metaphor, the experience for those who have surfed and those who haven't, and to really to look a little bit for a moment, if that's cool. You talked about, I love this, that line that soul is that surfing is the unification of body and soul, and maybe share a little bit more like what you mean by that and what it means. Like how do you use the metaphor or the example of wiping out? Like how do we learn from that? And then of course we'd love to talk about your book, but I love that line, surfing is the unification of body and soul, and we surf in life. So let's talk about that.
Yes. So for when I started surfing, it was really like coming home. And surfing is like, so for a Swiss, it's not natural, right? Where we grew up with skiing, snowboarding, and mountaineering, stuff like that. But when I was sitting in the ocean, I felt like, wow, this is something I have felt before. So it was like a homecoming. And surfing is more from the perspective now, it's more meditation in movement, because when you're sitting in the ocean, you're so small, and you're like one drop in the ocean. And yeah, so you're a small part of a bigger, so like it's the feeling of oneness that you feel. And of course with 18, maybe I wouldn't word it like that, but that's the feeling I have now when I go surfing. And from the earliest day, I just felt so connected to everything. So this is my experience of the unification in body and soul. It's like being connected, and there is so much information and energy coming in you. So it's like, so when I was thinking about the book, there were so many ideas coming just from the water, because the human body is like 70% is water. So yeah, so everything, even if we don't surf, we are water. We are pretty much all water. And so what we experience in the water is, it's, everyone is impacted by that, if you surf or don't surf. And we all experience waves, if you surf or don't surf. We experience wipeout, right? And for me, surfing taught me how to be patient, how to wait, how to sit still, and have the perfect balance between waiting and inspired action. That's really important, because in surfing, it's like in life, you get opportunities. They're like the waves, right? And if you try to catch the opportunities too soon, you miss them. And if you paddle for the opportunities too late, you also miss them. So it's really important to be in the right timing. So in the wrong timing, you can effort as much as you want, and in the right timing, it takes a few strokes to catch the opportunity, to catch the wave. That's what surfing taught me. And there is so much more. I have the whole book is of metaphors from the water, from surfing. Yeah, so we we can dive deep.
Yeah, for real. Like really dive deep. I actually, something you just said that really struck a chord for me. And I'm curious, anyone listening, if you felt this way, this like efforting, something I'm learning as well. Like it's kind of what you said. When I think we're programmed to think we have to do so much to succeed. You have to put so much effort in. And you just said something, right? If you put too much effort in, it doesn't mean you're going to catch a wave. You actually could end up being pummeled by the wave. And so there's kind of there's a flow piece. There, as you said, inspired action. There's a patience. There's a intuition. And, it's something I've been practicing is actually not efforting at the level we think, because it's exhausting and it doesn't necessarily lead to anything. So I love that you said that. Let's talk about, so your book, Unthinkable, let's talk about how you came up with it, what it means, what you're teaching in it. Like, let's dive into the book, because I know it's all about this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there are so many layers. So when I so when you have a crisis in your life and you don't listen to it, it will as a crisis will happen again.
Yeah.
So and this tragedy in the family was a big crisis for me, and that started the whole process. But later I realized that the thoughts I had about success and fulfillment, this was my whole life. So this crisis led me more to me, to what I was always seeking. And then a few years later, in the middle of COVID, we got separated, my ex-wife and I, and that's actually when everyone has a COVID story, some breakdown happening, losing a job or something like that, or relationships going apart. And for me, it was this family breaking apart. And this was when I realized, in one moment, I lost my family and my identity I had for myself. Because when you're a married, a husband and with husband with kids, it's your identity. It's so important, right? And suddenly you're separated. So you have to shift the identity. So and at the same time, the person that was helping me with the book, he died from a brain tumor in the same period as this separation happened. So this made me rethink the whole content of the book. And then I waited for a year to continue working on it, because I was dealing with separation and having to do a lot of healing and letting go of the kids like it was before. And then it shifted from this achiever to unthinkable. Yeah, so it was a second crisis that was a turning point for me. And the unthinkable was already before, but I didn't use the analogy of surfing. So it was really it was just a series of interviews. And then after separation and divorce, it became this surfing analogy, because this is really a passion for me. And that's how it happened. So when I interviewed so many different people, I didn't find common denominator, and I thought, what do they do similar, right? What is a Olympic athlete and the coach of Steve Jobs? What do they have in common? And I realized this work came to me of doing the unthinkable, and that has stayed with me for the last 6 years. And then after separation and divorce, it turned into this surfing. So the life teachings from a soul surfer.
Wow. I thank you for just kind of sharing authentically. And just know personally that can be really, really challenging, especially redefining your identity, which I'd love to come back to. I'm very curious about this commonality that you found with the different interviews around doing the unthinkable. Let's unpack that for a minute, Marcel, because I think to get a little more clarity, like what that looks like, so that our beautiful listeners can really get the meat of it and understand, okay, what that means. How can I apply that in my life? I'm so curious. Like, I'm curious if you interviewed, you said Steve Jobs coach and Olympic athletes. Like, what did that mean to do the unthinkable? Let's go into that first.
Yeah. So what I find out is that the unthinkable is very personal. So it doesn't mean that bigger, better, more. It's really what is personal, what is aligned with your mission, your vision. So the unthinkable is for everyone is something different, and all of those had crisis in their life, like all of us. And in the interviews, I realized that actually I'm not different at all as them, you, me, everyone, all the listeners. We are not different from the ones I interviewed. They might have one skill that, for example, Simon Whitfield, he's an Olympic champion in triathlon. So he's, of course, really amazing in running, biking, and swimming. He's world class, or he used to be. But him, like me, we go through separation, divorce, and we go through crisis like that. So we are we are pretty much all the same. And it's really the unthinkable. Doing the unthinkable for me is stepping out of your linear mind and going more into your heart. So there is always a piece of passion, and you mentioned obsession before. So it's always connected to your passion and your vision. So the unthinkable is unthinking, so stepping out of your linear mind and going into the heart. That's actually where our full potential lies, in the heart. And I mentioned that in the book as well, that there are more connections from the heart to the brain than from the brain to the heart.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. Not just play on it, but it's really getting out of the thinking mind, getting out of, as you said earlier, it's actually also efforting, because at least what I found, I don't know, I know from surfing when you were talking about it, there's something different when we're in that place of heart and intuition and inner wisdom. It's like there's not an effort. It's a grace. And like I know you have the acronym for flow. There's a flow, there's an alignment. So when you say doing the unthinkable, it sounds like what you're really saying is, for those that you interviewed, what you heard was get out of, in a way, like get out of your mind, get into your heart and your passion.
Yes, when we think a lot, when we overthink, that's usually what keeps you from being in flow. So overthinking or not deciding, that's what really keeps you out of flow. And I always talk going from effort to energy. That's flow. Going from effort to energy, and then the wave. If you're not in the right timing, the wave never picks you. And then there is a piece of one value that is really important is taking the leap, having the courage to commit fully. So when a wave comes, if it's in life or in surfing, you either take it or you don't, but you have to decide in the moment. And it's a decision from the heart. You either commit or you don't. There is no in between. So you fully commit or not. And if you don't commit, you take the next wave. That there is no attachment, there is no ego when you're in flow. Of course, when you go to competitive surfing, then you have the ego, then you have the the numbers and all that. But in free surfing and in soul surfing, there shouldn't be any ego involved.
You just said something too that really I love this metaphor, because actually I had never thought of this before. But you miss the wave. There's always another wave. There's always another wave. It actually mirrors the divine. It mirrors the universe. It mirrors the infinite.
Yeah, the
And
abundance. Yeah.
the abundance. Yeah. Let's talk about that for a minute. I mean, I remember when we spoke last time, I was like, oh, he can go deep into spirituality. I'm psyched to have him on the show. Everyone knows I love going to the deep end of the ocean or the pool. That's a cool reminder. I hadn't thought of that. Like so it's being passionate, but using your heart to make that choice. So you either go with the wave, you don't, because your heart is going to tell you, you miss it, there's another wave. And it's knowing. See, when you're surfing, I imagine there is always another wave. It's like, how do we know that in life? That's the piece to work on, to heal, I think. What do you think?
Yeah, but in surfing, there is a lot of scarcity around the waves, so people fight for waves, and it shouldn't be like that, because there is always another wave.
Yeah.
But we are humans, so we fight for things that are abundant. But there is also, to catch a wave, you need the commitment. You need sometimes a little aggression to take it, to be ready, because there is the rule that the one that is closest to the peak gets the wave. He owns the wave because of the safety, right? Because when someone is on it, you don't want any other people dropping in. But there is never scarcity, so always new waves come.
Yeah, it's a beautiful reminder, because even in that kind of fear-based thinking, like if you really think about it, the ocean is huge. Like there's plenty of room for everybody. It's like in life, and there's always going to be another wave. There'll be another peak. It is really trusting. It's just trusting that we're infinite and we're abundant, and that abundance can be counted on.
Mhm.
Um, I'm curious. I love this looking at like the unthinkable and being in your heart. Let's talk for a minute about flow. I know you have this really powerful acronym for flow. It's funny, it actually reminded me, I'll tell you in a minute. It reminded me, I did a show on the power of woo. I don't know if you've used the word woo, like being woo woo. It's the
Mhm.
wisdom of oneness. And I was like, oh my God, his acronym for flow reminds me they're like siblings. So let's talk about flow and what that means to you and kind of how you use that in life.
Yes, so this came up in the book. So flow, I use finding love and oneness within.
Yeah.
But this is kind of an add-on. I use flow like it's from Taoism. It's the Wu way. That's the effortless way, or the
Yeah.
the path of the middle. That's flow. And I just think I feel it's always connected to unconditional love and oneness.
Mm,
And
that's
because when you have a pendulum,
yeah.
I by chance I have one.
Oh, great.
The
You have a
the
pendulum. Perfect.
flow the flow is always the middle path. So when you do the extreme, it goes back to the other side. So it always ends up in the middle. And so that's going away from efforting, you know,
Hmm.
to really go with the current. And my whole life, I really I really paddled against the current. And you see this picture, and everyone wants to surf in this beautiful wave, but many people are in between. So that's caught inside, in between the wave and shore. And that's where you have a lot of currents. That's where you have rip, and that's where you paddle, paddle, paddle. And sometimes it's just really important to let yourself be drop back to the shore and maybe find a new vantage point and see where it would take you out.
Hmm.
So that's how it is in life too. Sometimes it's good to um, not give up, but just step back and find a new vantage point.
I just, as you were talking for a moment before about finding the middle way, that path of sort of the non-extremes, unattachment, being in the middle in that space. I don't know about you, Marcel. I know being abroad for you, you're in Switzerland now, and being over here in the States, I think we're in a similar Western mentality still that is just push, effort, strive, hustle. I've experienced it to be really, really harmful and taxing, especially on my nervous system and my body. And to me, there's one of the reasons I really wanted to have this conversation is I feel like there's this call to action at a very kind of in a larger level to really honor this middle way, which comes from Eastern tradition that has been known for thousands of years, whether it's Taoism or Buddhism or yogic or what tradition that focuses on how do we live in that middle space, not striving, non-efforting, being in that space of just that middle. And I'm glad that we're talking about it because I think that so many of us are affected and may not even realize it by that push. You said like you struggled with going against the current, and I just always believe, I know we talked about this, Mother Nature. I mean, I think of the ocean is like the divine feminine, like divine
Mhm.
mother to me. It's like she's going to teach you. Like you try to go against her, that current, you're going to be swallowing some sand and water.
Yes.
Yeah, which
Yeah,
totally.
I experienced that a lot. So when I'm in the water, I want waves, right? So I talk to the ocean, say, please give me waves, waves, waves. And then suddenly I get 10 on my head. And then I usually say, okay, I know you're the boss, you're strong. So there you have to be humble in the waves in the ocean. because
Mm.
yeah, it's really about resilience and surrender. And then for me, surrender is about giving in, not giving up. So I think the waves teach us surrendering.
I love that. Give in, not give up. I'm definitely going to make a note of that in our show. That is a great, great. I felt that at the core of my body. That's so powerful. I think people many times think surrender, it can feel like I'm giving up and
Mm-hmm.
I've done something wrong. And it's actually the opposite. It's allowing, it's letting go. Um, Tell us more, like what in terms of your life shifting your identity since this shift with your family system and launching your book. Like, what does it look like today? How are you living out these principles? Um, I'll start there, and then I'll wrap with kind of the legacy that you're hoping to leave here for your kids and the world.
Yes. So stepping outside of the family of this structure and stepping outside of the corporate, it was really freeing for me. And that's scary, right? When you jump from a tower or you jump from a cliff, there is no safety net. So you have to jump without knowing what's happening. And every structure gives you safety, but also limits you. And I think now I live a really vulnerable life because there are always waves. It's more vulnerable because I'm out of corporate, so there is less safety, there is less structure, but it helps me to people talk about the box. I don't know if the box exists, but living outside of that structure gives me a lot of freedom. And this is what I want to teach my kids also. I thought a lot about my values, about my identity, and when you go through separation and divorce, you have to be able to let go of the kids because you don't see them as much anymore. So this is an important piece, to let go and having this trust. They are not with you right now, but you are always present with them, and they will always come back when it's the right time. So I think that the last 3 years have taught me a lot about letting go, and that's in alignment with surfing.
Yeah.
So yeah, so are my lessons that I learned for myself, but that's what I teach my kids as well. To love themselves, to be present. I'm not perfect, so I'm not always present, and I try to be as much present as I can. I don't know if this answers your question. There
Yeah.
are so many points that I would like to go deeper.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. I like to ask this question from time to time. What is that? And I think you did answer, but what does it mean to be your Youest You? Like, what does that look like mean to you at this point in life?
Yeah, so I think what I learned before in a earlier life, I thought that I needed to be someone else to be okay. So I did personal
Yeah.
development, I did extremes, I pushed myself. So I did marathons, I did ultra marathons, I did Ironman competition. So I did this unthinkable feats to be, in my eyes, to be okay, to be of value, to be accepted by the others. And I realized that this is all nonsense for me. The most unthinkable that you can do is actually be your Youest You, be your true self, and
Yeah.
letting go of all the conditioning that you have. So shedding all the layers that are not you, that's becoming your Youest You. And I always like to share the example of Da Vinci when he created the statue of David. And he said he just took away whatever was in excess, and that then he had the perfection of the statue of David. And this is what I'm doing now, shedding all the conditioning, shedding all that doesn't belong to me, and letting go of all things that limit me. That's what I'm doing. Yeah.
That's beautifully said. I haven't heard it like that. I love that reminder using the Da Vinci, the David. That's a great visual. Marcel, I love to ask. Actually, one of the things I always ask here are about heart flares because we honor the heart. We honor that heart. I've brought in people from Heart Math, the Heart Math Institute, and talking about the power of heart intelligence and activating and connecting to the field around your heart. So I'm curious in asking you, is there a heart flare? Is there something on your heart that we've been talking about, something maybe I didn't ask you, or you really just want to make sure to share with everyone listening?
Yeah, so I have a passion project that I want to follow, and it's around being divorced dad. So because I realized going through divorce, there is not really a support system for men going through divorce, and I think it's so important that we have that the role model of the dad and the mom are equally strong. So I don't want to take away from the mom. I think it's very important to have the feminine side, and it's equally important to have a masculine side, and not kind of this negative, aggressive masculinity, but more the balance in the feminine and in the masculine. So really teaching about self-love, unconditional love, also from a dad, and that's what I'm passionate about. That's what I want to write about, because I felt alone. I
Mm.
felt it was only talked about the well-being of the kids and the mom, but not about the dad. And I have 3 boys, and they most likely will be dads if they have kids. So
Mm.
that's what I don't know, what do you call it, heart flare? Yeah, that would be that.
Yeah, your heart flare. I love it. So awesome because I know there are those listening who either are divorced as moms or dads, that especially for the fathers, I don't know about a lot of support. I think that's really beautiful and needed. And I really appreciate your level of consciousness, your level of depth, and really wanting to share this with the world, because I this idea of being in the middle, this idea of not making our identity about striving and chasing success. Um, it's such a shift. It's so crucial. I actually think it's part of the whole waking up process for those of us that are like, we are here to wake up, ascend, and to elevate consciousness here, to elevate heart, love, compassion. And I'm so aligned with what you're saying, getting out of our minds, like
Mhm.
lose your mind, go into your heart, which sounds funny. We want to lose our mind, get into your heart, and like you said, get into the waves of life and let go, surrender. It's not about giving up, it's about giving in and letting go of attachment. I think it's really cool how you are living this. I know that coming from that high profile, working in corporate and having that identity, being married, and frankly even the book with interviewing all these high performers, the bottom line is, this is so crucial. It's such an important message and lesson. I know anyone listening in, like, we're talking to you. We love you. And if you are the overachiever, highly ambitious one, I bet you are, because like attracts like. Just listen in again to this conversation with Marcel, and really get that in the end that doesn't work. I could talk for years about why it doesn't work on the physical level and the energetic level. And I know that's what you do in your book, Unthinkable. And that's what you do now, speaking on stages and speaking, around the globe, to help people really get that we don't have to strive and effort, and actually that concept of being at one with the ocean, with the wave, with the water. There's more to that than we may even realize. So thank you so much, Marcel, for being here, for sharing your heart, your gifts, your wisdom. I'm grateful for you so much.
Thank you so much for this conversation. I think we should have many more.
I hope so. I always love chatting, and yes, to really looking at how can we be more in flow. Who doesn't want and need more of that? So amen to that, my friend. Yeah.
Yes.
Well, thank you so much. And as always, I want to thank you, my beloved listener, my sister, brother from another mother. Thank you for being here. And perhaps just taking even one or two nuggets of wisdom from this conversation and really looking at how can you apply this? How might you surrender? How might you look at ways that you can let go of the striving and the pushing and the hustling? How might you get more into the flow? And certainly pick up Marcel's book, Unthinkable. All of that information will be in the show notes. And I wish you blessings and a continued journey of flow, surrender, peace, and love from my heart to yours. Namaste. Thank you. Thank you, Marcel.
Thank you so much.
My friend, I'm so grateful and honored to be here with you on your journey and being your You-est You. Thank you for watching this episode, for being part of this incredible community and this mission to really step into your light, to your highest purpose. I believe that as we all do that, we all can really be our best selves and uplift consciousness and in humanity. So thank you. I also wanted to say that if you are looking for greater support right now, maybe you're having a health concern or you're looking to really step into that next version, best version of yourself, please come connect with me, whether it's for more resources or coaching or guidance. I would love to support you in any way that I can. Just go to juliereisler.com. You can book a powerful one-on-one breakthrough session there. You can connect with me. I would love to meet you. I'd love to hear how I can be on this journey with you. And before I forget, if you'd like a little more of this good vibe tribe and would like to digest these episodes with a high vibe community, just go to Facebook and look up the Youest You podcast community. You'll find us there. Love always. And thank you so much for taking the time and energy to truly stepping into your authenticity and being your Youest You.